Happy New Year, and welcome to the first episode of Choreography for 2026, where we will be talking about the upcoming U.S. Nationals event, which is why we are adorned out in proper attire for this event, because we will actually be there because it's here in our home city of St. Louis.
We are ready.
Yeah.
I am so ready.
Yes. So I've got my Team USA hat on. You've got your U.S. figure skating hat. You also have a kind of funny shirt that a friend sent.
Yes. For a birthday gift a year or two ago, a friend of mine sent me a vintage World Championships sweatshirt from 1998 in Minneapolis. So thank you, Amy. I love you.
Like I said, we're going to be talking about U.S. Nationals, and we're also going to, and that's going to be a preview, and then we're also going to cover a little bit of the Korea Nationals that took place this past weekend as well. But why don't you just go ahead and get us started?
Okay. Well, welcome to Choreography, a show about the greatest sport on ice, figure skating. I'm Wendy Buskey.
And I'm Adrian Buskey. And as we dig into the U.S. Nationals, we're going to be talking about all four of the disciplines. We're going to be talking about not only what's on the line for the championships here, but of course, this is the Olympic season. So so many of
Did anyone not know this?
I know. But it's, I feel like it's required to say it for the algorithm or something.
Yes, the algorithm.
So we're super hyped because, like I said, this is in our city this year. It's going to be at the Enterprise Center in downtown St. Louis, which is in our metro area. And so we're going to be there, and we're really excited to both see all these people in person, but also to see some of our listeners and some of our fellow podcasters and content creators and stuff are going to be there as well. So really hyped for just the in-person experience at this.
Yeah. And for anyone who has already reached out to us, if we have not gotten back to you, I apologize. Our water heater died. It's just been a super fun 2026 so far.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so in classic homeowner fashion, our water heater exploded, and that wiped out an entire day for us dealing with all of that. And so
on top of all of the holiday hoopla.
Yeah.
And things and stuff.
Yeah,
so we will get back to you.
On a related note, if in the later episodes you start hearing ad breaks ahead of the podcast and the YouTube and stuff, it's because we have to pay off a new water heater.
Oh my gosh, I know.
All the things. But in any event, a number of you asked if we were doing like a meetup or something, and we don't have something specific planned for like a listener meetup. Downtown St. Louis is not super friendly to walking and having meetup places. Unfortunately, all the good places are some distance away from the venue.
They are, but I mean, we may try something at. There's a facility called Union Station that is near the arena, and
it's in very close walking distance, and there's a bunch of touristy stuff there. So
there's an aquarium. So if you're in town and you just need something to do in the morning, cool aquarium.
Yeah, the aquarium is pretty dope.
But yeah, looking into if there's an option, but most likely we'll just be excited to meet you in the venue and say hi and maybe grab a photo for the Insta and just hang out a little bit and get to know you. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, events like this, they are long days.
Yes.
There will be a lot of people competing. We're not talking about everybody because there's just so many. There will be so many of your usual senior competitors, but also a lot of the junior event is going on as well. We're not going to be covering juniors. It's not our specialty, and there's only so many hours on the day.
Also, it's going to be happening at a different facility.
Yeah.
So it's not in the same arena, and therefore it's a little bit more difficult and challenging to get back and forth to. It does start sooner. So if you're following it does give you a little bit of a breathing room to actually view it. But yeah, for us driving around and just sort of prepping to be in and out of our home and in the arena for the next week is a challenge. So we're going to focus on the championship event.
Yeah. So, well, let's get right into it then.
Yeah.
And I think we should probably start with the women's event because I think this is the one that has the most really competitive skaters in.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the conversation that we've been having over the course of this season has been that there are three kind of obvious picks to go to the Olympics for the women, and a number of other competitors who have really been making compelling cases for themselves, although some of them have not done as well this season as we would have expected. But I think, you start right off by looking at, this event includes your women's reigning world champion and also now the reigning Grand Prix final champion, Alysa Liu.
Yeah. And I mean, we're all excited to see what Alysa Liu does here. She has made a point of letting us know that she is training at triple axel. So we may or may not see that here. Who knows?
That she, showed off on Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show as her kind of way of releasing it. So, very classic Alysa Liu is now granted we saw last year at like Worlds that she was throwing triple axels kind of not
landing them.
Landing but not getting them all the way around.
Yeah.
But she was doing it in practice at Worlds even though she wasn't going to be competing with it, which is just a very Alysa kind of flex. But what we have seen from her doing it in training now looks really strong.
It does. But maybe not as strong as Amber Glen's, because Amber Glen's is maybe her best jump. It's phenomenal.
Yes. I don't think there's any maybe about it. I think that Amber Glen's triple axel is a thing of absolute beauty at this point, and of her entire arsenal, it's the thing that looks the most secure. It's bombastic. It's huge. Her running edge out of it is wonderful, and the idea that we would have two of those top women throwing that here is exciting. The big question for me with Alysa Liu is whether or not she is going to continue skating the MacArthur Park free skate, or if she will re-debut her Gaga program that she started the season with, and then it wasn't quite ready for prime time, and then she switched back to her older programs, which have been serving her very, very well. Of course, are the programs she won the World Championships with, and also the Grand Prix final with. So with Alysa and her team, she's going to do what Alysa wants to do, right?
And she should.
Yeah.
If I don't ever want her to change that game plan.
Yeah.
Like, she is in charge. She knows what she's doing, and she's going to do what she's comfortable with. So that has served her brilliantly, and I don't see any reason to change, and I hope she never does. Like, it's fantastic. I don't know if we should expect to see her, like, run away with this competition, but regardless, I don't think she's the only person I feel 100% is going to the Olympics, because she is our world champion. She is our Grand Prix final champion, and she's in commercials with Dua Lipa. Like, I mean, she going.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, we talked in a previous episode about like the Olympic selection criteria, and so
it's far more specific now. Like, they have definitely gotten it much more mathematical than it used to be.
And I do believe it's about placements more than scores.
Yes.
And it's looking at the track record of a couple of seasons in international and national competition. And, when you look at Alysa Liu's track record over the last 2 seasons, it's very, very compelling, starting with winning Worlds and then everything that she has done since. So she feels like the obvious lock. I cannot imagine them not sending her.
They won't. And I don't think that there's any way they can. Just looking at the points and kind of how it's adding up, like, Alysa Liu is essentially a lock.
Yeah, but then you mentioned Amber Glenn earlier, and, we look at Amber. I mean, she is a reigning 2-time national champion from the last couple of years. She was also Grand Prix final champion last year. She has Grand Prix medals this season and went to the final as well. And, Amber has just been one of the most compelling women on the international circuit over the last couple of years. She's really come into her own.
And definitely one of the most consistent. Again, if you look at the numbers, I feel like Amber is essentially, I wouldn't say a guarantee, but pretty close. My nerves for Amber going in are more about her, like, staying focused, staying in the zone, and not stressing over if she wins or not. Like, because I think she very well could run away with this. Like, she has the technical ceiling that is the highest, and I think that she could take this again and be a 3-time national champion, which would be fantastic for her going into the Olympic Games. I don't see any reason why that couldn't happen. I want her to stay very similar to, like, Alysa Liu, just being herself and owning it. I want Amber to just focus on how she treats going into any, like, training day.
Yeah.
Like, because the mental game is the most important part for Amber. We know she can do all of this. She has everything to be every different type of champion. It's just a matter of her making sure that she is staying true to herself and as, kind of in the moment as possible. So I have to admit, watching her in person, I'm really excited about, but I'm also, like, terrified.
Yeah.
So I think I'll feel the most comfortable watching her in practices because I probably won't breathe during her performances, honestly.
Yeah, I think that, Amber is a pretty obvious lock unless something completely falls apart here. But we have seen that she does occasionally have, a bad short program or just a fall that can shake things up. And we should
for
note,
the past 2 years, she has really changed that story.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, she has been a very consistent competitor, but we saw like last year at Worlds, like she faltered a little bit, and so anything can happen,
Sure.
and especially when you're throwing the triple axel and just high level technical programs, things get a little bit more dangerous out there. But I would still expect a very strong set of performances here, and she's definitely one of those 3 women that I want to see on this Olympic team.
Absolutely.
So it should be noted that, like, as far as I understand it, the one guarantee that comes out here is that whoever wins, as long as they are age eligible, goes. So that's your biggest wild card, is having a surprise winner come out on top. But I think the other woman who's definitely in consideration and most likely to go here, even though she has not had the most compelling last 2 seasons, is Isabel Levito.
But that said, Isabel Levito is never out. Like, she just hasn't been as high up.
Yeah.
That's really all it is. Like, she was in the top 5 at Worlds last year, and the only reason she didn't have more placements was because she was injured and couldn't compete.
Yeah.
This season, it's been definitely a little bit more up and down, but overall, when I say that, it's still marginal. If you look at like season high scores, her season high is only 2 points behind Amber Glenn.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of where she competed rather than her numbers.
Oh, yeah. Circumstantially, like, I think her best score of the season was at Grand Prix France with 2:12.71. And she landed off the podium just because she was against a slate of Japanese women who were astonishing at that event.
Like the best Ryan Sumiyoshi's ever looked. And then Ami Nakai and Kaori Sakamoto. What are you going to do?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
And she was only barely off that podium. Mm-hmm. So
and just barely missed the Grand Prix final.
Yes. So if you're looking at all of this together, it definitely feels like those 3 are your most likely 2s. The only person I think that's even in this conversation anymore is Brady Tennell.
Yeah. Yeah. I do want to say one more thing about Isabel Levito is that she is sort of the ultimate clutch performer.
Absolutely.
Outside of maybe Alysa. And there have been times in the past seasons where I have doubted Isabeau, and then she has gotten on the world podium. And so I have learned my lesson there to never put it past her to just show up on the day and be absolutely extraordinary when the moment calls for it.
She's fierce.
Yes.
I love her.
Yeah. But you're right that while Brady Tennell's top score of the season is not quite in the same arena as Isabeau, we know that she's capable of really big numbers internationally, as she's shown over the last couple of seasons. Brady has been very consistent, very compelling. She has maybe the best spins of any of the American women.
Her spins are fantastic. It's certainly her signature.
Yeah. I think that as an all-arounder, she doesn't look quite as refined as those other 3. But at the same time, she also tends to show up when the moment calls for it. And I think that this is Brady at the fairly obvious end of her career here. She's going to want this really bad.
She is.
And I don't think that you can count her out for showing up on the day and really making the case for herself here. So I think you're right. I think that she is the biggest threat for that Olympic team if it all comes together correctly for her here.
Yeah, but it would have to be literally the best performances she has given in years.
Yeah. I think,
and I'm not saying she can't do that.
Yeah.
She absolutely could.
Yeah.
But it literally will be like the peak Brady Tennell has to happen here and not wait for another competition.
I think the same can be said for Sarah Everhart.
But I don't think she's even mathematically in this conversation anymore.
Probably not. I mean, I think that, she's got a higher international score than Brady this season, I think from Lombardia Trophy by about 4 points. But the rest of the season, Sarah has just been hammered by the judges.
Oh, yeah.
And there has been a sense of holding her in place, both by the U.S. judges and internationally. And I think some of that is some question of material. The judges just have not seemed to really really like her Poor Things program very much, and certainly some of the outfits with that have not helped her case entirely. I like that program, and I think it looks really good on her, and I really enjoy Sarah Everhart's skating. At the beginning of the season, I really thought she was going to be much deeper in the mix for this, and I think over the course of this season, you've just sort of seen that reality come crashing down.
Completely.
And it's frustrating because she is as good as she is, but she is not the artistic skater that Alyssa or Amber or Isabeau or Brady are.
No.
She's just typically an extraordinarily consistent technical skater, but we've seen her fall a couple of times in competition this season, which is so rare for Sarah Everhart.
I think we had all gotten used to her being the most consistent jumper, but she doesn't have that all-around quality that any of the other women we've talked about do.
Yeah.
So I kind of get it. They're looking at big picture, who has the best chance to place the highest at the Olympics. And while Sarah Everhart has an arsenal of jumps, she has not grown very much beyond that. And I feel like this is a message being sent of you have to for us to be able to move you forward. I agree that I've had some frustrations with the way she's been scored, especially when you compare it to last season. But I appreciate what she was trying to do with that Poor Things program, and I do like it. And I think it is a step, but she needs a bigger step. Like she needs to kind of take her skating to that next level. And I really feel like Sarah Everhart is a next quadrennial skater.
Yeah. I think that the other person that would be in conversation amongst these top women, but who is a much more of a long shot for making that Olympic team is Star Andrews.
I had a dream last night that Star Andrews made the Olympic team. Not even kidding.
I mean, that would be thrilling. I mean, she has put together some beautiful performances this season. And even if she isn't a podium threat at every event that she's been at, she's had some spectacular performances.
And again, mathematically, there's little to no chance at all that this will occur. However, she is in the conversation for 4 continents. And that would be a great competition for her to go out on because we know she is retiring from singles skating this season.
Transitioning to Paris next season.
Which is so exciting.
Yeah.
But my hope for Star here is to make the 4 continents team.
Yeah.
That's really what I'm thinking.
That would be terrific. And I mean, I would love to see her and Sarah and Brady, as a squad go.
That'd be a great team.
Go to 4 continents. We definitely saw last year that Brady and Sarah both had a very good 4 continents.
They were silver and bronze there. That was huge.
Yeah. I'm very excited to see Star in person because I really love these programs. And so I'm hyped for that. We'll see Elise Lynn Gracie here. She has not had a particularly great season. She doesn't look like she did last season in her skating. It just hasn't looked as strong. So I'm just hoping that we're getting her like feeling good, back to form and performing well. But, there's no real shot, I think.
No, there's no chance for Elise to make the Olympic team.
Unless she won. And we've seen her.
She is not going to win.
I know. We have seen her in international competition get like in the 210s before. So she is capable of really big numbers. But
she's had such a rough season. There's no way.
Yeah, I mean, she hasn't broken 175.
And honestly, you have to remember too, these are U.S. judges that are looking at an Olympic team.
There will be
scoring
fixing.
Choices.
Yeah.
So even if she skates brilliantly, there's no way.
Yeah. If there's somebody who I'm super hyped to see here, not really in the conversation for medals or for the Olympic team, but who I just absolutely adore, it's Sonia Hilmer.
Same. I'm so excited to see her.
Her programs are fantastic. We have not seen enough of her this season in international competition. Her programs are just fantastic. That step sequence, that tap dance element that she does in one of them, I absolutely love. Artistically, she's one of my favorite skaters. She is just so entertaining to watch and so unique.
Her short program is like top 5 favorites of the season for me. I love it. So I cannot wait to see her. I am such a geek for Sonia Hilmer skating that, I'm so psyched to see her in person.
Yeah, and I think that an American audience is going to be lit to see her.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you have a well-versed skating audience, then know that you're going to be in for good stuff with her. A handful of other names that, should be noted. Josephine Lee will be here. Joey is always typically is a really good nationals skater.
Yeah,
when she
that's
was
usually
a junior,
where she
she was doing great at nationals. And I feel like she's in the middle of kind of a glow up. And I think that just as a strong national skater, I think hopefully we'll see good performances from her here. Sherry Zhang did very nicely at Nationals last year and is a very compelling skater. Sophie Jolene von Felten, has been in the junior ranks, will skate in seniors here, and is one of the more powerful technical skaters out there. Not always a complete artistic skater, but still a very compelling
She's young.
one.
She'll get there.
Yeah, and I believe Ava Marie Ziegler is out of this event.
Yeah, she's being replaced by Alina Bonillo, who actually has done nicely this season. So very cool for her to get the spot here, but it is a bummer to not see Ava Marie Ziegler. I don't know exactly why she withdrew, but so Alina will be there instead, and I'm looking forward to seeing her.
Yeah, really strong slate of women. I mean, this is
Huge.
going to be a really exciting competition, and but also a nail biter. If I have to guess, we're going to see Alyssa, Amber, and Isabeau named to that Olympic team,
Yeah.
regardless of what the actual podium outcome is, unless there are some really wild swings. Who knows? Again, anything could happen, and definitely at nationals events, we've seen pretty crazy things happen before. So,
For sure.
yeah.
But I really do think the only person who could really upset that balance is Brady Tennell.
yeah, agreed.
Let's move on to the dance, because if you want to talk about deep fields, this one is nuts. Absolutely bonkers.
A deep field and a couple of things that have me like really nervous at this event. Your obvious forerunners are Chock and Bates.
Of course.
I mean, they are your reigning world and Grand Prix final champions. They are the stars of American ice dance.
They get feature spreads on like the Today Show and in People Magazine because
they're on the billboards here in St. Louis,
which is so cool.
Driving into St. Louis, we've been seeing them. They have like an 18-point advantage over the next top team here.
They
in the
could
States.
have the worst rhythm dance that they've ever had, withdraw, and still go to the Olympics.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's foregone conclusion.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They are on this team.
They're on this team.
That's a given.
Yes.
The question mark goes to the other two spots that we have.
Absolutely, it does.
And the team I would think is the obvious lock for a second spot is probably a surprise based on if we were coming into the season who we thought that team would definitely be. But I think it's Zingis and Kolesnik.
I think it has to be. Like they have had, again, if we're now that everything is a little bit more mathematical and a little less feelings and vibes, even though with dance it's always feelings, vibes, and politics.
Yeah.
Zingis and Kolesnik, I think, are undeniable.
Yeah.
Because they made the Grand Prix final in a surprise. They have medaled at Grand Prix. They have had a phenomenal season. Their high score of the season is a full 10 points ahead of the next closest competitor. Rankings wise, they're in the top 10. Like I think they're seventh. Like if you look at top scores of all teams in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't think they are able to be denied anymore. Like I think they have to go to the Olympics.
I think they've got probably the best rhythm dance of maybe
all these
anybody.
teams. Yeah, probably.
In a season where a lot of the rhythm dances are kind of meh, like theirs is terrific. I really like their Romeo and Juliet free skate.
I do too.
Judges have really liked them this season. They've been so compelling. So again, you could have massive mistakes and things could really get
Things could
messed
shake
up here.
but
Yeah.
I just don't see
There's
it.
going to be a lot of nerves here on all these disciplines, but Zingis and Kolesnik, I think, have just really made the case for themselves this season. And I think that, Vadim has his citizenship as well. And they've just been so exciting. And you've really got to look at Olympic seasons where you have your tried and true teams, but much like how Ami Nakai came out of nowhere this season to lock a spot with the Japanese women, I feel like Zingis and Kolesnik are in that same boat where like they have come on stronger than any other American ice dance team this season.
For sure.
In several places, I think they should have been ranked higher in their Grand Prix performances versus some of those bigger, more established teams because I think they were more compelling at them. And I think they have better material than Chock and Bates do.
Material wise, I love their material. What I also think is really important to keep in mind is next season. Chock and Bates have not outwardly said they're retiring, but we all know they're probably retiring. And with that, there is a wide open who is the top American team that is going to vie for medals in the next quadrennial.
Yeah.
I mean, Zingis and Kolesnik, the international judges are already saying, yes, we like them. So we've got to talk about Carrera and Ponomarenko as well, because I think they're the ones who had been set up to be that next heir apparent, but I don't know anymore. Like, I really don't.
Yeah, with Carrera and Ponomarenko, at the end of last season, they were the very obvious number 2 American
Completely.
team. They were 5th in the world last year. Great programs. Their Carmen was so
good.
so successful for them. This season, though, they just haven't looked as good. And some of that is material.
I think it almost entirely seems to be material to me. Like, I mean, that's not fair to say. I do feel like there's been something that hasn't quite, that same spark hasn't been quite there.
Yeah.
However, I do think Haein and Ponomarenko are brilliant. And I can't even tell you how excited I am that they dropped their new Notre Dame program and they're going back to 2 seasons ago's program from Perfume,
Yes.
which is my favorite program they've ever done.
Absolutely. That's their breakout program. That's the one that really defined them on the international stage. And I think
so good.
It's fantastic music.
It's
it
moody.
Suits them really well. Yeah, it's moody, it's different, and I absolutely loved it that season. So I'm really hyped to see that in person
Oh my
and
gosh,
have that
yes.
come back, because that looked like an Olympic program.
Agreed.
And we've talked a lot about this season that, like, what you always see in Olympic years is people kind of try new things and then sometimes go back to the vault and pluck out those best programs they had, and sometimes they re-envision them, like Jason Brown has done with his Riverdance program.
Poirier.
Yeah, exactly. But just bringing back the greatest hits sometimes is stale and sometimes is exactly what you need. And I think that that's a really great choice for them. And notably, Christina has citizenship now. That has finally come through. She is now officially an American citizen, so she is eligible. That's been a question this entire season, whether or not that was going to finally get locked in. And they have just not been treated particularly well by the judges over the course of this season.
That's more what I've noticed. I feel like there has been almost, I don't want to say intentional because that sounds so conspiracy theory, but I feel like they have been kind of given that message of, we don't like what you're doing right here, so we're going to hold you in this one spot. I don't know if that's true. The judging in Ice Dance has been a mess this season for everyone.
For everyone, yeah.
So it's hard to know what's going to happen. Really, what this comes down to, though, is I think between them and 2 other teams, we're looking at Green and Parsons and the Shibatanis.
Yeah. So, I've got some feelings about
I know you do.
For Green and Parsons, this is a team that is one of the best artistic teams because of their unique point of view.
They're so good.
When they do things that are more modern dance, more avant-garde, and sometimes a little bit more theater than some of the other teams, they really excel. They're quite unique amongst all of the teams. And
very much.
When Green and Parsons are on, I am always just astounded by what they bring to the table. But last year, they really kind of fell off and didn't look as good. And this season, they have gotten stronger programs, and I've really liked what I've seen from them, but they've also had problems. Like they had one of the Grand Prix events they had to pull out of because of an injury.
That was horrible.
They had I think it was a fall in practice.
Yeah, it was, and Michael got injured. And
it injured his pelvis, and then they came back and performed really well at their next Grand Prix event. But I think that they just haven't had as much of an international presence as, say, Zingis and Kolesnik and Carrera and Ponomarenko. And I think that they're at a sharp disadvantage going into this one, even though their top score of the season is only like 3 points behind CPOM.
But their placements haven't been as strong, and just in general, like I have not looked at the numbers for Ice Dance, so I can't say for sure, but it's definitely an uphill battle for them.
I feel like they'd have to have like a silver medal at this event to get them into the conversation.
We're just going to have to see, but I do feel like they're still in this, but it's going to take a lot.
They feel less likely.
They do, and it's heartbreaking because remember, they were 4th at the last Olympic trials and missed out on getting that spot to, the brilliant Kate Hawaik and Jean-Luc Baker, and I'm thrilled that they got to go to the Olympics because they are my heart. But it is almost like, are you going to be 4th again? Yeah. That would be horrible.
Yeah, it's the bridesmaid problem.
I know.
Of like, always a bridesmaid, never a bride, and the danger of that is still really high. The big question mark is around the Shibatani siblings.
It really is, because I have no idea what to expect here.
So in any plain realistic situation, they would not be in the conversation because they have only competed twice internationally this season, and then didn't compete for 7 years. They are former Olympians. They were
Olympic medalists.
superstars. Yeah, they're Olympic bronze medalists, and they were superstars of American ice dance. And there's a lot about the Shib Sibs that's very compelling. But they came into the season after being gone for a really long time. The U.S. Fed jumped all over it, stuck them into all the Olympic advertising. They immediately got brand endorsement deals. And the Fed just sort of ignored, other than Chock and Bates, basically all of its other top ice dance teams, and just immediately made the Shib Sibs one of the faces of their Olympic marketing campaign, which gives you that sense of the judges are going to want to put them on this team. And even when we've seen them in international competition, the U.S. judges have scored them way, way higher than some pretty obviously unimpressed international judges. If we look at their top scores here, they're points behind other teams like Brodie and Somerville and Peyton By, but they've got reputation and they've got face value.
Reputation, face value, historical success, and
big brand sponsors.
And there's also just the simple fact that figure skating in the United States is at probably its lowest level of popularity. Bringing in anyone that can get more visibility, that can, like they were just on Alona Mars podcast. They're known quantities, and that while numerically they should not be in this conversation, they very much are.
Yeah. You get the double-edged sword with them of notoriety to the Olympic watcher who's, kind of comes in every 4 years. But hardcore skating fans will also know that they've had controversy this year as far as the video that came out of Alex just yelling at Maya for 45 straight minutes or something that was pretty difficult to watch and changes the story of the narrative about them as this very genial, very connected team. And they've been kind of doing their work to kind of put that behind them, the PR work since then. Also, they just haven't been that compelling in performance.
And I think that they were at a distinct disadvantage because ice dance has changed dramatically in 7 years. So it's not that they are not fantastic. They are. There is a reason they are Olympic medalists.
Yeah, definitely.
But the sport has changed, and them evolving their material. I honestly think their biggest mistake was keeping the Coldplay program as their free dance.
Yeah.
I honestly think that they should have tried something very new and swept that away. I get that they were working with the sentimental value of it, but I actually think it's more detrimental because you can't help but think of that previous version. And while there is always a shot, I do think that they have, I just think of the Kiss and Cry at their first Grand Prix, and they shared a look to me that said they knew that Olympics was probably off the table.
Yeah.
But you never know. I want to believe that since the U.S. Fed has been very clear with their messaging and been very transparent about how they're picking teams, that it's not going to be a thing. But they could come here. I've heard they're changing their rhythm dance.
Yeah, it seems like they got rid of their DDR program, which was not performing super well.
There's no saying they couldn't come in here and just shock everybody and win. It is a really, 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 really big long shot. But that would give them the excuse to send them. So
right.
I don't know. It's very unlikely, but not impossible.
Yeah. This is just, of everything at this event, is the thing I expect could be the most sketchy, the most controversial, and could lead to a lot of eyebrow raising after the event's over. I hope that's not the case. I want this to all be clean and fair and square. And I
think we're going to know a lot after the rhythm dance.
Yeah.
I think the rhythm dance is going to tell the story of if this is going to be sketch or not.
Yeah.
So we're going to see.
Yeah. And then the rest of the teams here, notables are going to be Brodie and Somerville, like I mentioned a minute ago, who have been pretty good this season, but also several times the judges have been very unkind to them. And we also know that Ian occasionally takes a crazy fall in a high pressure moment. So, that could work against them. I think that the U.S. judges sometimes look at them as a team that have a lot of talent, but just aren't dependable because of some of those wild mistakes. So
yeah, unfortunately, I feel like, and I mean, Brodie and Somerville are so talented. I also think their future team, It's very similar to how I think that the U.S. Fed is looking at Wolf Kostin and Sarevsky and Una and Gage Brown. I think they're seeing them as future teams, not current teams.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I will say that Wolf Kostin and Sarevsky have really impressed me this season.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they've got any shot here, but I think that going into the next seasons, they're a team to really keep your eyes on. Peyton Bai, I really like their material this season. I love their free skate. And they're
always joyful.
Yeah.
Like you always, like they're fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. And they won Lombardia Trophy earlier this season. And with programs that I was surprised how much I've enjoyed them. And
I don't like Lion King programs anymore. I'm just burnt out. And yet they've won me over.
Yeah.
I like theirs.
Yeah. So with none of those teams do I have any super high expectations here for them. I just hope for really good programs. And
I am so hyped to see the Browns' Godfather.
Oh, yes.
That's what I want to see.
Yes. I think that's one of the programs that has the highest chance of a huge impact in a U.S. audience. I really think that one could run away as a fan favorite at this event if it works out well.
If they do it to the best that they can and what we've seen, it's going to destroy St. Louis.
Yeah. However, the Browns have had a bit of an uneven season. So, it's just going to be a question of performance on the day, like with everybody.
Well, let's talk about the men because you'd think it's obvious in some capacity, but then you get to the third man. Ilia he could show up and do triples and he'll be on the Olympic team. There is no question he's going.
Yes, Ilia Malinin is going to the Olympics. He could withdraw. He could not throw a quad this entire event.
My feeling is I want to wrap Ilia Malinin in bubble wrap right now. Him and Yuma Kagiyama, I just want to put them in like bubble wrap and be like, be so careful. And they're not going to be. They can't be.
Right.
But that's my brain.
Yes.
Going like, just your job is in February.
Yeah. We do know that Ilia is skating on newer skates.
New skates.
Because he's trying to have them broken in properly for the Olympics. And so he's less concerned here. We also know that like in the past, Nationals has been kind of Ilia's worst event.
Typically.
He's had some of his worst skates on
but
the
also
U.S.
some
National.
of his like really fun memories. Like he did that crazy combination that you always bring up.
Oh yeah, there was a couple of years ago where like his free skate wasn't going super well, and then he threw a triple combination that was just absolutely nuts and had everybody shook because it was
like at the very end.
It wasn't planned. It was just him making sure that he had the score that he had. But it was one of those like nobody does that, and it was
not
phenomenal.
Right. No, it was a unique choice,
but it is not something he has done since.
No,
but we've also seen him practicing absolutely crazy things like
quad axel, quad toe.
Yeah, things like that.
If there is something I don't expect to see here, it's a quad axel. I really don't.
No. I think that Ilia,
he doesn't need it at all.
He does not need it at all. There is such a massive score differentiation between him and Jason Brown as your second guy based on the scores of this season. Like again, Ilia doesn't need big scores. He doesn't need to go ham. He just needs to throw solid programs, thrill the crowd, do a couple of cool backflips, and then
that's
go
the key.
on to training. Yeah.
I want to see him excite the crowd. That's the only thing I could think of why he would do a quad axel, but I still don't think he's going to. He doesn't need to. He can throw the backflip. He can do the raspberry twist into a spin. Like he has so many different things that he can do to generate that excitement that he doesn't need the signature jump here. But I, especially going into the Olympics and knowing again how figure skating has lost so much momentum, I am really hoping that NBC hypes him the heck up and he kills it in that free skate because that's the one that people are like most likely to watch.
Right. That's the highlight reel.
That's the highlight reel. And I want it to be big and bombastic and just exciting so that people watching tell their friends and are like, oh, you're going to see this guy at the Olympics. He's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's my hope.
I don't expect him to throw with a 7-quad program he did at the Grand Prix final.
Absolutely
I hope
not.
he doesn't.
No.
As extraordinary as that program was, he does not need to do that here.
At Nationals, he won't.
Yeah.
I really can't. I cannot imagine him doing that.
Now, your obvious second man is Jason Brown. While Jason has not had the best scoring season, I think his top out this season has been like 257, 81, and we know that he's capable of much higher scores than that. He has not landed everything this season. The axles in particular have seemed to be kind of problematic, but Jason is always a peak late guy. He's usually in this kind of messy earlier part of the season, and then he really comes on strong around nationals and into the end of the season. So I think that, much like Isabeau we were talking about earlier, Jason Brent's one of those guys that you just can't count out, and you shouldn't lack confidence in him because his track record shows that in the right moment he comes through.
He does. And it would take a lot to get Jason Brown off of this team. Like, they need him.
Yes.
Like, especially, frankly, in the team event.
Yeah.
Because Ilia is most likely only going to do one of the two parts of that. If they need to swap him out, they need someone they can count on. And Jason Brown is the obvious, we can count on you.
Definitely. Yeah.
So I feel like from beyond just his ability to, and I mean, he's still top 12 in the world if you look at his scores. Like, not if you look at ISU rankings, but like top scores of the season. He's still in that top 12 in the Kevin Amos land of like scoring. I just can't imagine they don't bring him. It would be very shocking. But that third spot, like, I appreciate that Haley at fs.skatingstand shared the current rankings today of scores and kind of where everyone is. And Andrew Torgashev is still leading enough that he is technically looking like he could be the third man. But the most consistent man this season on the American side outside of Ilia and Jason is Tomoki Hiwatashi. So we'll see.
When we look at Torgashev, I think that before Worlds last year, he was the obvious third man. But Torgs has a bad habit of choking at the worst moment. And he is also capable of extraordinary programs. I mean, his footwork sequences are intense and amazing, and he has a ton of artistry. He typically has good jumps, but he has been on the ice a lot, just with some pretty nasty falls. And when a program comes apart for Torgs, they just obliterate. I think that what they're just worried with Torgashev at any given point is a full crash out. Like, you wouldn't want him on the Olympic team competition group.
Absolutely
because
not.
I just don't know you could count on him.
No, I would be shocked. More shocked if they added him to that than maybe anything else that they could do.
Yeah.
Just because he has not proven himself reliable.
Yeah, I don't think the track record is there. I think that, when you were saying that over the course of a couple of seasons that he still is kind of the guy who's ahead with points. But when we look at Tomoki Hiwatashi this season, scores-wise, I think he's topped out at like a 245. But considering, we look at like the numbers that Ilia gets that are astronomical and like Yuma and Shinsato, like, that are just up there over 300. Yeah. So many of the rest of the international men are floating in this like 250 or less zone. Like,
yes.
It's been a fairly weak scoring season for a lot of the guys outside of a handful of notable exceptions. And Tomoki has been on podiums this season. He has showed up really strongly and consistently. He's always kind of hovering in that same 235 to 245 zone. His programs are fun. His Crete program is really compelling.
I really like that program.
Yeah. He hasn't faltered. Like, he has just looked really consistent.
Even when he falls, he comes back. Like, it doesn't feel like it destroys the rest of his program.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know. I'm really curious to see what goes down with him here. Like, my hope is just that he has fantastic programs and shows up as much as possible, because I mean, Tomoki has really impressed me this season. So he is Tomoki. He is like, I can't really compare him to a lot of other skaters. He just has his own thing. But I'm into it. I'm curious. The other person who's in this conversation, honestly, just kind of barely, but he's there, and we all, like, if nothing else, he has the heart of the conversation, is Max Naumov.
For sure. I mean, for a lot of reasons, Max Naumov is the skater that a lot of people would like to see join this Olympic team and head to Milano Cortina. And I think that performance-wise, he doesn't have as compelling an argument here. It's kind of tough is that his top ISU score of the season is like a 226, but he did Ice Challenge and got a 246 and performed very well there.
He won.
Yeah, he won that event, but that is not like a sanctioned ISU event. And that's one of the tricky things about figure skating is that you have the ISU sanctioned events and then you have like the lots of other smaller events that matter but don't figure into world standings in the same way. But he has shown that he is capable of getting up there in that same zone that like Tomoki and Torgashev, have done, but he has just been more inconsistent, had a little bit of tougher skates. But I expect that we will see a huge emotional outpouring from the crowd for him anytime he's on the ice here at this event. I think that if anybody is the person that is going to have that emotional desire from the crowd to make that team, it is Max, but he's going to have to pull off a pretty amazing set of skates to make that happen here.
What's really interesting is that mathematically, there is one other person who could make this team, and it's Lucius Kazanecki, the junior skater, because he technically is age eligible. He just doesn't have the international minimums. But if you just look at points and kind of where he has landed, he could make this team if he did really well here.
Could they send him without the international minimums?
They couldn't. He would have to get them, I think.
They'd have to send him to like Four Continents or something to try
Four Continents or Challenge Cup because that's still happening. So, technically he could shock everybody and steal this spot.
Yeah. He was really compelling at the Junior Grand Prix final.
He really was. So let's see how he does at Nationals because you never know. I mean, and the argument could be as well that he, one, has the points to do it, but two, the thing that was so controversial in the last Olympic Games was that they gave the spot to Jason Brown instead of Ilia Malinin.
Mm-hmm.
Because
some people are still pretty salty about that.
I understand why they did.
Yeah.
And granted, Jason Brown, I think, was 6th at the last Olympics. So, and Ilia went to Worlds and wasn't quite ready yet. He did okay, but he wasn't in the top 6.
Right. Yeah.
But that said, Ilia is Ilia in a special case. However, because everyone is a little salty about that, there is the conversation around building up for the next quadrennial.
Yeah.
Ilia needs a competitor in the States desperately. Mm-hmm. And if Lucius is that guy, that would be amazing and would be really cool. Like, we obviously have Jacob Sanchez as well, but this is his intro to senior season and he isn't really in this conversation for the Olympics.
He doesn't quite have the technical to pull it off. Yeah.
I think he'll get there, but he's still not quite there. But I don't know. I'm curious if they want to pull in somebody like one of those two, if mathematically it makes sense, because then you are building up that experience for like the next generation.
Yeah, I think that, Lucius and Jacob are kind of your next quad kind of. I mean, Ilia will
obviously with Ilia
still be a superstar.
But Jacob's like one of his best friends, so I think that's really cool too. And Lucius trains with him, so I mean that trio could be very dominant.
Be really, really good. Yeah. And we also will have Liam Kapikas here, who I don't again, not really in the conversation, a wonderful artistic skater, but sometimes the jumps kind of get away from him. And then Jimmy Ma will be here too. Jimmy pretty clearly threw away any real obvious attempt to make it to this Olympic team in favor of crowd pleasing, super fun programs.
Yeah.
And I think that last year it started to feel like he might kind of make a play for it. And then by the beginning of this year, it seemed like he realized it wasn't going to happen. And instead he went for the kind of skates to get you on tours and in international performances. And
I'm here for it, man. Because I mean, I love Jimmy Ma.
Yeah.
Anyone who's listened to the show knows that we are Jimmy Ma fans.
I love Jimmy Ma. I don't really like the YMCA Macho Man Raining Men program or whatever. I think it's going to be really fun in the arena.
That's really what I think it is.
Yeah.
It's a hype program. And if there is someone who can hype a crowd, it is Jimmy Ma.
Yes.
Man, however, there is no part of me that would be upset if he just randomly turned down for his last nationals, which I'm assuming this would be. Come on, it would be so fun.
Oh, I'd be lit for that. For sure.
Honestly, Jimmy Ma, I'm looking forward to the show. That's really all it is.
Yeah. And then, of course, the final event in this is the pairs event. And this one has a lot of question marks in it. We've got 2 Olympic spots on the line here. And I think our strongest team, at least as far as the being our reigning national champions at this point, and also the best performing internationally, are not in the conversation because Alysa Efimova does not have citizenship.
Yes.
So unless something comes through like super last minute and there's some miracle, she and Misha Mitrofanov are not going to be available for this Olympic team, which is really a shame because I love this team.
They are not giving up. I've seen at least enough stuff online to say they are still fighting. And I kind of wonder if they're hoping that somehow if they win the national title again, that will help move it forward and get it in time. I don't know that that's realistic. I don't know any of the details. US Fed might know something we don't. I don't see it happening, but it's possible, I guess. I don't know. I think it's probably unlikely. I don't know what to expect here. I mean, I love this team. I think they're phenomenally talented. However, I do feel like the momentum has been with Cam and O'Shea. And Cam and O'Shea, 100% can and very likely will be going to the Olympics.
Yeah. I mean, I think Cam and O'Shea are the lock. They would have to fall apart like they did at last year's U.S.
Let's
Nationals.
not talk about that. That was bad. That was real bad.
Yeah, last year's U.S. Nationals, they had an extraordinary short program and then a complete collapse in the free. They're very obviously not going to want to have that happen again. They don't have as high a score internationally as Efimova and Mitrofanov, but they have had really nice programs. Ellie has been landing a lot more. Like we've seen clean skates from them now, which is really, really exciting for this team.
And they came close to making the Grand Prix final. It wasn't too far off for them.
Yeah, very, very close. So, and they did make the Grand Prix final last year.
They did.
So this is a team that is capable of really big, really great stuff, but can also, have some pretty bad days that can take them out of competition. So I do think that as a previous national champion and kind of the marquee team ever since Kinnearman Fraser retired, there's very little scenario where I see them not going unless there's just some extraordinary circumstance.
Yeah, I agree. I think they are the lock.
Yeah,
they are going.
The question just comes down to that second team. And I think that's where things get kind of fuzzy because
Big fuzzy.
Without, Efimova and Mitrofanov, then you don't have teams that have as much consistency or high a score, and you have a lot more of a question of, length of time that these teams have been together and what their consistency is, what their scores are. And I think that when you look at Chan and Hao, this is a team that has like the most like veteran performance between the two of them. They've also had serious injuries that have taken them out for long stretches in the past, but right now they look pretty strong. They rarely put together two programs that really explode in a way that makes them seem like a podium potential kind of team, but they have the experience, they have the that veteran quality to them, and they're capable of turning in good performances, and they've typically come at least very close to the national podium, if not on it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they are the obvious, like if Efimova and Mitrofanov can't get citizenship for Alysa in time, then Chan and Hao will go, especially since Katie McBeath and Danielle Parkman are facing the same citizenship issue for Danielle and can't go, and they've been the other most kind of consistent team for the past couple of seasons. The one outlier, I think, is Audrey Shin and Balazs.
Yeah. So a very new team. They have been experienced that sort of growing pains of coming in as both a new team and a team that has Audrey Shin, who was a single skater for a long time and, is now competing in pairs. I think that of all the teams that we're talking about and the rest of them, they have the highest potential for star power as far as having big, exciting, glow up kinds of skates. I always said in her singles career that Audrey Shin had star power. She didn't always put the programs together, but she was just one of those people that I always felt like had the brightness and charisma to really shine on the the world stage.
She's super compelling.
Yes, and Balaj is a terrific partner, and what we've seen so far this season has been a little uneven from them, but of all of the rest of these teams, including Chan and Hao, they have the best international score with a 194 flat at Golden Spin.
Where they took gold.
Yes, and they were really strong and very compelling at that event. So where that would fall between them and Chan and Hao, I think it just really kind of depends. Like if Shin and Naj get on the podium, they might get that nod.
Yeah, I really think it's going to depend on, because again, I haven't looked at the pairs numbers, so I don't know where everybody's falling in terms of the rankings. However, I think if Shin and Naj have a fantastic nationals and Chan and Hao don't, this conversation gets really interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious, and I want both of these teams to do great. I think that the pairs competition is the most question mark. Every other one of these competitions happening in St. Louis, I feel like I at least have a fairly decent idea of like, I don't know how everyone will rank, but I know who the top like 4 or 5 will be.
Sure.
We haven't even talked about like the return of Plazas and Fernandez or Chelsea Liu and Ryan Bedard, who, while their ISU ranking is much lower, they beat Shin and Naj not that long ago with like a pretty decent score.
And this is a team that's been together for a scant
5
handful
minutes,
of months. Yeah.
So I really do feel like this competition overall, I have no idea what to expect.
Yeah, I mean, Plazas and Fernandez could really surprise here. And, they're a team that, like, I think tends to kind of stay in the middle of the pack, but they can have some really lovely moments. I think that when we go back to, like, just really briefly on Shin and Naj versus Chan and Hao, I think that we have probably seen the best performances that Chan and Hao are sort of capable of, like in previous performances. I think that we've seen them in competitions.
For sure.
I think we've seen the peak of what they can do, and what they can do at their highest level is really good, but doesn't shine in the way that like Kamen O'Shea and Efimova and Mitrofanov are capable of, right? Both Danny and Ellie and Alysa and Misha, when they're on, they can put some spectacular programs out.
They create moments, like, for real.
And I don't know that really happens with Chan and Hao in the same way. And I just don't think that we've seen even close to what Shin and Naj are capable of.
Absolutely not. Their ceiling hasn't been met yet.
Yeah. So I think that when we really see that team completely gel and give them the real promise of what their pairing has, I think that there's a case to be made for how great they could be. And maybe that's very optimistic with a new team that still has, a lot to prove, but I do think there's something to be said there. But yeah, you didn't mention Liu and Bedard, who I don't think have a real shot here because they are so new, but I really hope this team sticks it out because what I've seen of them so far I've really enjoyed. And you still have a couple of those other more junior teams like Flores and Wang and Williams and Luer, who I really enjoy both the teams, especially Williams and Luer. I love those two. They're not as strong a team scores wise, but they are adorable and they're super fun to watch. Yes. And I really look forward to seeing those teams develop over the next couple of seasons. But yeah, I'm going to be really nervous about this event and seeing how it shakes out.
This is the one where I mentioned earlier about holding my breath watching Amber Glenn. I think I'm going to have to really be careful about my breathing while watching this entire event.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah. And being there in person for this stuff. I mean, if you haven't seen skating live, pairs is probably the most impressive in person.
In person, yeah, because it just the stuff they do just you see it on TV and you know that it's insane.
Yeah.
And then you see it in person, you're like, oh my God, this is insane.
Yeah, it's really something else to see it live. And I think about a few years ago, we went to Stars on Ice and we saw Knierim and Fraser, and I was not prepared for how astounding that would be seeing them live.
They were phenomenal.
Yeah, they were I went into that event really expecting people like Ilia and Chock Bates to be who wowed me, and instead it was everybody was great, but it was Knierim and Fraser and Satoko Miyahara that really shook me up. They were the ones that I was just so blown away by at that event. So I just think that pairs here, has the biggest chance of like really shocking outcomes, because man, anything can happen in a pairs event.
Well, exactly. Like you said, the short program last year was great, but that free skate, my gosh, like Misha and Alysa were like otherworldly and so good, but Ellie and Danny, it was unfortunate.
Yeah, it was legitimately shocking.
It was
what happened in their free skate,
and I felt terrible for them. So yeah, I'm honestly just hoping that everybody has great skates.
Always, yeah,
and always, obviously, but especially here, like I want them to all show up and not leave here like they did last year.
Yeah. The best possible outcome for all of these events is really hard decision making for the Olympic qualification team.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
You want to make the job hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am very excited. I'm very nervous.
Yeah.
I'm kind of stressed. There's a lot of emotion.
Yeah. Well, also, like, I mean, we have the additional logistics of, we're not watching this from our couch. We're doing it in person every day, going over there to be at the event. And so you're going to have those long days with lots and lots of skaters. And
I'm so tired already.
Yeah.
I'm pre-tired.
Yeah, pre-tired. Yeah, we're going to have to get a couple more naps in between here and there that we're going to be ready for it. We're not going to do any predictions on this one because, man, I don't want
feel
that
like
stress. Yeah, that's emotional labor I'm not prepared for.
No.
But super hyped for it. Can't wait to support our U.S. skaters and just be a part of that energy. I just really hope that here in our hometown that we see the crowd really show up. We've already heard, and it's been such a busy couple of weeks that I'm really behind on responding to the comments in the last couple of episodes, but I know that a number of you are going to be at the event, and so we're excited to see people, and I'll try to get in touch with everybody ahead of time, but would really love to see everyone. But beyond that event, the other big one that kind of just took place, I think that it's worth talking about, is that Korean Nationals.
We need to talk about that, even if it's just real briefly.
Yeah.
On the men's side, we saw much better performances and ferocity from God's favorite, Junhwan Cha.
Yeah, who he has been having a real struggle of a season, and particularly having boot problems, and which just seems to be a running theme for a lot of skaters over the last couple of years. But Junhwan has just not been putting together really good numbers so far this season. And even though he wins this with a 277.84, which isn't like massive,
but it's much, much, much better.
Much better, much more competitive, and locks his spot for that Olympic team, which you had to expect anyway. But if there's a skater we want to see at the Olympics, one of them is Junhwan Cha. Yeah,
I love June. I'm so happy for him, and he came in ahead of junior Grand Prix champion Min-Kyu Seo, also fantastic, but wasn't going to be able to go to the Olympics anyway because he's not age eligible. So the other member of the Olympic team is actually going to be Hyunyoung Kim, which I think was not a surprise.
Not a surprise. He's been pretty consistent this season. Strong overall skater. And, he's not in a real competitive kind of zone for like top 10 or anything, but like he is a solid skater. And when he, turns out a good performance, he's definitely worth talking about. I think the unfortunate thing is that we kind of would have hoped for like Haein Lee to have maybe locked his way onto this team, because I got to expect this is probably his last competitive season.
I would assume. He hasn't said anything.
But we've seen Haein Lee spending a lot of his time as a performance skater. There's a big, they've been doing sword art online, which is like an anime, but they've been doing it as a ice show. And notably Yelim Kim has been in that as well, with like short blonde hair. Looks very fetching on her, and she's looking like she's having the time of her life. Haein Lee is in like this armor, like you wouldn't even know it's him, like with a mask and red crimson armor and stuff. Looks really cool. I don't know a whole lot about that other than the photos that we've seen of it on Instagram, but it looks awesome. But it just kind of seems like he has spent more time as a performance skater than a competitive skater.
I am mostly sad. Like, I like Haein Lee. He always seems like a nice person and just a great teammate.
Yeah.
But I love his free skate this year because I feel like it was such an evolution for him artistically. So I am a little bummed not to see him here, but I am really happy to see Hyunyoung Kim get his first Olympic berth. And I think he is a skater of the future. So getting him the experience of the Olympics, I think will be good.
Yeah, definitely. I think where the potential, I don't know if it's a surprise necessarily, but like, we've been talking about the Korean women this season. This season hasn't really shaped out the way that we thought it was going to, as far as
Absolutely
like
not.
how the performances were going to go. I think that Jia Shin winning this event and locking her trip to the Olympics is no surprise. We thought since she was coming out of juniors that was the likelihood that she would step into seniors and kind of immediately make her way into that upper echelon and lock that spot. That's no surprise. At the beginning of the season, before any of the performances happened, I would have said the obvious second spot was going to go to Cheon Kim. Cheon is, I know I use the phrase like one of my favorite skaters all the time, but Cheon is legitimately one of my favorite skaters. I absolutely love her. I love her skating. I love the costumes that her mom makes. I love her program choices. But this has not been a great season for her. She has been injured. I think that she's made coaching changes, which has seemed to be very, very positive for her at least when we see her like in the Kiss and Cry. But obviously there's been physical challenges that she's been fighting at, and she has just never looked as good as she did in the previous seasons. And she doesn't perform super well. I mean, like her end score of like 182.59 isn't horrific, but she's 9th overall and completely washes out of that Olympic consideration.
Which is heartbreaking because she was, even going into the short program, she was behind the eventual person who took that spot, but whenever you looked at the numbers, because of the South Korean ranking championship, she was still in the conversation and could have made that team. But the eventual taker of that second spot is international bestie Haein Lee.
Yeah.
Which I'm really, really, really excited about.
I can't be mad about that because, I really enjoy Haein Lee's skating. Like you said, like we always call it the international bestie because she is just like so very connected with so many of the other skaters. And I think just as one of the things that we talk about all the time on the show is that one of our favorite things about skating is the international friendships that are involved and just seeing how much of an important part of the sport that camaraderie is across national barriers. And Haein is just one of those people that like is just always like very interconnected with a lot of the other skaters. And this season, her programs have been a little all over the place because she changed up, I think both of them. I think she went back to previous programs and was really trying to find like what she was going to be using going into the end of the season. But, she lands in 5th here, but it's notable that the Korean Fed has a really strong slate of juniors. They're going to be coming up over the next couple of seasons. And so they're the ones who kind of got in ahead of her. And that includes the Kim twins. Yusong Kim came in 2nd here. Yoo-jae Kim came in 4th. They were both really solid on the Junior Grand Prix, and they tend to kind of swing back and forth as far as who's kind of the top of the two of them. But I think we've got a couple of years before they show up in senior competition, but the Kim twins are really compelling. And Ji Yoo-he, who I'm not as familiar with, came in the top 5 here as well.
Yeah, but after Haein Lee was just outside of the Olympics last time, so and I mean she's a former world silver medalist, and I mean to be fair, Cheon Kim's a former world bronze medalist, so very tight between those two. And Haein she's been through a lot. I'm really happy to see her come through and take this. I'm heartbroken for Cheon, but either way, you are going to have heartbreak and joy.
Yeah.
And I am happy for Haein, very much so.
I'm just hoping that
Happy Haein, that's her
Happy Haein is her Instagram title. Yeah. My hope is that Cheon Kim still has a lot of years of competition ahead of her.
Yes.
And that like after we see a lot of the competitive slate change after this Olympics, that she continues on and really rises to be the complete superstar that I think that she's capable of being. So hopefully this is a minor setback. I mean, obviously not making the Olympics is not minor for a skater, but you know what I mean? Like that, I hope that there's still a strong future for her.
Me too.
We also saw that Young Yu landed in 8th here. And so was not part of this conversation as well. I don't think that she probably really was based on what she's done in international competition in the last year. But
she's also said that the Olympics were not her objective this season. It was, she also has had a rough time for a while. And so she was skating for herself. And I'm always happy to see Young Yu.
Yeah.
Period. And I'm sad we won't get another Olympics, but she herself said, I've done that. And
That's true. Yeah.
she has had that experience and Haein has not. So I'm excited for her.
Yeah. So, of course, notably, there isn't a qualifying pairs team for Korea. So they don't have anybody as part of their Olympic team there. But they do have an ice dance team. I believe it's their only ice dance team. I could be incorrect about, like,
I don't think
maybe
so.
somebody in junior. One way or another, Hana Lim and Ye Kwan are the program for Korea.
And they are awesome. So,
yes.
I mean, it's a good program to have.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of programs, I really enjoy both of theirs. Like their Men in Black program is super fun and
it's great.
Captures that kind of 90s-ness in a way that I find real. I'm just in general big fan of Lim and Kwan.
Oh my gosh, I've been
very,
a fan
very
of theirs
excited
for a long time.
that they obviously have locked in their Korean citizenship or their passports or however that works in order to be named to the Olympic team. So yeah.
And this is their first. Like, I feel like Hana and Ye have been around a while now, even though technically they haven't.
In senior competition, yeah. They appeared after the last at the 2 World Team trophies back is when they sort of made their senior debut and were immediately like almost instantaneously a fan favorite. Like
Absolutely.
they were just one of those teams that immediately you're like, oh my gosh, they're great.
And I see big things for them in the future. So them getting the experience, knowing that they're not in contention for medals here, they can just go and have the Olympic experience first and get it under their belt so that in the next quad, we can see how far they can go.
Yeah.
I'm very curious.
Yeah. I'm such a huge fan of theirs. So,
Me too.
Yeah, I just very much team of the future kinds of things, but I'm very excited that they get their first Olympic experience coming up here. So as we wrap this one up, again, we'll be at U.S. Nationals, so we'll be in the stands somewhere, roaming around on the concourse in the general vicinity.
Napping in a corner.
Oh my gosh. Oh man, don't discount the possibility that I might just be asleep somewhere in the stands in between events, 6-minute cat naps during warm-ups or something. But we are more recognizable now. So now that we are on video all the time, so it should make us a little easier to find at the events. But if you don't already follow us on Instagram, I'd suggest going there because I think that probably on a daily basis in stories, we'll pop in with photos and videos and you'll have a sense of like, here's who you're looking for.
No videos from the event itself, like on the concourse.
Yeah. No, as this is an NBC Universal event, they are very protective of what you can do as far as taking photos or, anything video. It was just hilarious was, everybody has a phone in their pocket that is a video camera.
But yes, we have to be very careful. And so we will not be filming any of the competition or practices, but we can film in the concourse and kind of share.
And outside the venue. And
outside the venue. And just share what the experience of being at Nationals is like.
Yeah. And it's been a long time since we've been at U.S. Nationals, so pretty hyped about it. And this is our first time doing the entire event.
Yes.
So
this is a whole new ball game, and I have really no idea what to expect other than I hope it's really fun.
Yeah. I mean, we've done Skate America before, but, Grand Prix events are much more concise.
Yes.
These will be long days, oftentimes, I think, with a lot of teams and skaters that we don't know super well. So that will be good introduction to some of the junior skaters and maybe names that we don't know as well, but it also means they're going to be long competitions, and it also means some people will be eliminated before the free skates.
Yep.
So which is always kind of rough, but in any event, super hyped, anxious,
very anxious.
Just, oh my gosh, just curious is not the right word. Nervous about how this is all going to shake out in the end. I mean, again, there's people that we expect to make those Olympic teams, but still anything could happen. And I'm just hoping for great performances from everybody and to have a really positive note to exit the U.S. Nationals and go into the real end game of this season, which of course is 4 continents and the Olympics and Worlds. But yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
If you can't tell by the tone of Adrian's voice, he's already also pre-exhausted.
Pre-exhausted, pre-anxious, yeah, all of those things. So anyway, in the comments for this episode, again, if you haven't done it already, let us know if you're going to be at the event. I'm going to try to get caught up on all of these comments before we go to the event. But let us know who you're hyped for. If you're not in the US, are you paying attention to this? Like, are
you watching Canadians instead?
Right, because we're not even talking about
friends.
A Canadian preview here. That's happening the same weekend, which is crazy.
I know, and I will talk about Canadians as well next time.
Certainly.
We just didn't have time to fit in a preview episode, but very curious to see what happens, Roman and Gogolev.
Yeah. Well, also in the
curious.
women's competition, like I feel like all of us are going to be sitting at U.S. Nationals and then watching our phones to see what's happening at Canadians.
Exactly.
You know, like our Canadian neighbors have a lot on the line as well. So yeah, but let us know what you're paying attention to, what you're going to be hyped for this weekend, if you'll be at the event, if you're as anxious as well I am anyway about all of this, and then like we're going to catch back up with you after the event to talk about the experience of being at U.S. Nationals and how the dust settles after this weekend. And for Choreography, I'm Adrian Buskey.
And I'm Wendy Buskey.
And we will talk to you next time.
Bye.